Hi guys, today is December 6th, and last week has been quite a week if I do say so myself. We had Kanye West, aka Ye, go on the Alex Jones show and say that he loves Hitler, and that Hitler did a lot of good things, while at the same time saying that he loves Jews. He also denounces child pornography, but at the same time wears Balenciaga from head to toe. He also makes fun of Benjamin Netanyahu and says that he brought him on the show, live. Also, it has been found that if you translate Balenciaga from Latin in Google, it says Baal is king. But they have since fixed this because they found out that that is not really what it means. Next, we are going to be talking about Elon Musk exposing Twitter in a multi-post expose, and lots more in this episode.
I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
So last week, we saw mental illness can be damaging to someone's cognitive state. We saw this live with Kanye and Nick Frances. Now, if you are on the Alex Jones show and you are making Alex Jones sound like a moderate, you are doing something on a completely different universe. As you can imagine, it's really hard to do that. Nick Frances openly says that Jim Crow laws are really not that bad and boils it all down to using a different water fountain, which is not only wrong, but also a gross undervalue of the laws segregating people every day for years. Nick also is a Holocaust denier. Moving past that, we have Kanye showing up to the studio in full head-to-toe Balenciaga, but has his head, for some reason, with a full mask, so his face is not showing. Of course, that's made of Balenciaga as well. So the whole time, Alex Jones is questioning whether this is really Kanye West. Also, throughout the almost 3-hour-long interview with Alex Jones, Alex gives Kanye multiple times to retract what he says about Hitler, but of course, he never does so. So, starting from the beginning, Ye says that he doesn't want to show his face because, quote, they want him to show his face. And he doesn't want to do that because they want him to do that. So he wants to do the opposite of what they say. When Alex Jones says, who is they, Ye says the Jews. Then Ye says that porn is a really big deal and ruined his family, and these companies are not good because they use porn actresses to do so, and the porn actresses has moms and dads. But he does not mention that Balenciaga, in which he is wearing, actually had kids in their photo shoot, in which the pictures that they were in had BDSM dolls and caution tape that said Baal, which is a demon that people used to worship and still do worship. And another picture, Balenciaga also had a purse on the desk with some papers, and on those papers, it showed a Supreme Court case in which the Supreme Court decided that child porn is legal. Later in the interview, Kanye West decides to bring Benjamin Netanyahu on to ask him some questions, in which Kanye reaches over and pulls out a net and a chocolate drink called Yoo-hoo.
What we did is we brought Netanyahu with us.
I mean, I'm in the twilight zone right now.
Netanyahu, what do you have to say? What do you have to say to Alex Jones right now, Nick Fuentes and Ye? It was bad. It was bad for Trump to meet with Nick and Ye. Okay. I had no idea your voice is going to sound like that, Netanyahu.
He doesn't even know what to say. Again, if you make Alex Jones speechless, you did something really bad. Nick is also speechless. Kanye later puts what he calls Net in Yahoo on the floor, and Alex says one word. Kanye cuts him off, brings back Net, and renames Netanyahu to just Net. So honestly, a big red flag, and a flashing red light saying that he needs help. Ye also blames Ben for taking away his family, and obviously Ben didn't do that. He is the Prime Minister of Israel. You cannot make that distinction between one person and a group of people. Because a person that is trying to, quote, take away his family is Jewish, you cannot make that connection to all of Jewish people. So, this is a mental illness on display. He needs mental help, not a camera and a set of lights. He walked out of an interview with Tim Pool earlier in the week because Tim didn't want to go in deep with Ye, but Alex obviously did, as my microphone call falls. And I honestly would have did the same thing that Tim did. And if Ye was in my studio, that would have happened the same exact way because I'm not following along with that how dare you deny the Holocaust? How dare you say that Hitler was not a bad person? He's an evil person. He's more evil than Satan, because Satan is a spirit. Hitler is an actual being. Moving right past that, we are going to be talking about Elon Musk exposing the Twitter files that blocked Hunter Biden's story when voted on. 15% of Biden voters would say that they would not have voted for Biden if they knew about the laptop story that the media suppressed until it was politically not going to hurt them in the election. Without further ado, let's begin. So, digging right in, what really happened with the Hunter Biden story suppression by Twitter will be published on Twitter at 5 p.m. EST. Then a couple hours later, we see that Matt Taibbi tweets the thread, which I will also link down below, and it reads, number 1, thread, the Twitter files. We are about to read in the first installment of a series based upon thousands of internal documents obtained by sources at Twitter. The Twitter files tell an incredible story from inside one of the world's largest and most influential social media platforms. It is a Frankenstein tale of a human-built mechanism grown out of the control of its designer. Twitter, in its conception, was a brilliant tool for enabling instant mass communication, making a true real-time global conversation possible for the first time. In its early conception, Twitter more than lived up to its mission statement, giving people, quote, the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. As it progressed, however, the company was slowly forced to add these barriers. Some of the first tools for controlling speech were designed to combat the likes of spam and financial fraudsters. Slowly, over time, Twitter staff and executives began to find more and more uses of these tools. Outsiders began petitioning the company to manipulate speech as well. First a little, then more often, then constantly. By 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, more to review from the Biden team, then the reply would come back handled. This is an internal document showing exactly what Twitter wrote. All these links, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all of these different accounts, the Biden team is sending Twitter internally these tweets to ban on their platform. Celebrities and unknowns alike could be removed or reviewed at the behest of a political party. Twitter wrote, I grabbed the first one under SI, defer to safety in the high-profile second one. On Saturday, they wrote an additional report from DNC, and these are 2 more tweets. Both parties had access to these tools. For instance, in 2020, requests from both the Trump White House and the Biden campaign were viewed and honored. However, the system wasn't balanced. It was based on contact, because Twitter was and is overwhelmingly staffed by people of one political orientation. There were more channels, more ways to complain open to the left, well Democrats, than to the right. So, in the cycle 2022, a total of $185,267 came from all of these Democrats and Republicans. The total percentage of Democrats that donated to this was 99.73%. The total percentage of Republicans, 0.27%. In 2020, the total of $968,749 came from 98.47% Democrats and 1.53% Republicans. In 2018, $309,394 came from 96.38% Democrats and 3.62% Republicans. The resulting slant in a content moderation decisions is visible to the documents you're about to read. However, it's also an assessment of multiple current and former high-level executives. Okay, there was more to throat clearing about the process, but screw it, let's jump forward. The Twitter Files, Part 1, How and Why Twitter Blocked the Hunter Biden Laptop Story, number 17. On October 14, 2020, the New York Post published Biden's secret emails, an expose based on concepts of the Hunter Biden abandoned laptop. Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress the story, removing links and posting warnings that it might be unsafe. They even blocked its transmission via direct message, a tool reserved for extreme cases, example, child pornography. Number 19. White House spokesperson Kyla was locked out of her account for tweeting about the story, prompting a furious letter from Trump campaign staffer Mike Halem, who seethed, "At least pretend to care for the next 20 days. So, this was on October 14, 2020 at 7:19 p.m. She was banned. And then they say all she did was cite the story and first-hand reporting that has been reported by other outlets and not disputed by the Biden campaign. I need an answer immediately on when/how she will be unblocked. I also do not appreciate how nobody on this team called me regarding this news, that you will be censoring news articles. Like I said, at least pretend to care for the next 20 days. This led public policy executive Catherine Storm to send out a polite WTF query. Several employees noted that there was tension between the comms/policy teams, who had little/less control over moderation, and the safety/trust teams. Hi team, are we able to take a closer look here? Thank you. This was the email sent internally. Number 21. Storm's note returned to the answer that the laptop story has been removed for a violation of the company's hacked materials policy. This is from Elgin Soreto, an ops analyst, global escalations team. So, hi, Catherine. Thanks for reaching out to us. Per checking, the user was bounced by site integrity for violating our hacked materials policy. Adding them here for further insights and guidance. Thanks. Number 22. Although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. In fact, that might have been the problem. 23. The decision was made at the highest levels of the company, but without the knowledge of the CEO, Jack Dorsey, with former head of legal policy and trust, Vijay Gade, playing a key role. Number 24. They just freelanced it, is how one former employee categorized the decision. Hacking was an excuse, but within a few hours, pretty much everyone released that wasn't going to hold, but no one had any guts to reverse it. Number 25. You can see that the conclusion in the following lengthy exchange, which ends up including Gade and former Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth. Commons official Trenton Kennedy writes, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for marking this material as unsafe. So, in 2020, this was October 14, 2020, New York Post, Hunter Biden laptop article, privileged and confidential. Our teams continue to investigate the origins of the material and closed in the reporting. Trenton Kennedy, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for marking this as unsafe. I think the best explanation argument for this extremely extraordinary would be that we're waiting to understand if the story will result of hacked material. We'll face hard questions on this if we don't have some kind of solid reasoning for marking this link as unsafe. Then Trenton Kennedy CCs all of these people at Twitter, and then Caddy, which is one of the people that was CC'd, says, will we also mark similar stories as unsafe? And then they posted an article from Fox News about the reporting on the committee on this Hunter Biden laptop story. Number 26. By this point, everyone knew that this was effed up, said one former employee, but the response was essentially to err the side of continuing to err. Yoel Roth. The policy basis is hacked materials, though, as discussed, this is an emerging situation where the facts remain unclear. Given the severe risks here and lessons of 2016, we're erring on the side of including a warning in preventing this content from being amplified. What is the warning that will come up? New. When you click on the link, you'll see the generic unsafe URL message, references spam, malware, and violations of the Twitter rules. Not ideal, but it's the only thing we have. New. Whatever we do in the comments, this will become the basis claim for Jack pre-hearing immediately. Let's make it clear. We're proactively but cautiously intercepting this though the lens of our hacked materials policy and allowing the link with a warning and significant reduction of speed. Number 27. Former VP of Global Commons, Brendan Boren, asked, can we truthfully claim that this is part of the policy? I.e., as part of our approach addressing potentially hacked materials, we are limiting visibility on related stories on Twitter while our investigation is ongoing. Number 28. To former Deputy General Counsel Jim Baker, again, seems to advise saying the non-course because caution is warranted. I support the conclusion that we need more facts to assess whether the materials were hacked. At this stage, however, it is reasonable for us to assume that they have been and caution is warranted. There are some facts that indicate that these materials have been hacked, while there are others inciting that the computer was either abandoned and or the owner consented to allow the report shop to access it for at least some purposes. We simply need more information. But again, this is what people are not saying. Who is the Twitter team to allow the people to speak on something? Who is the Twitter team to allow or not allow something on their platform? You need to see if it's misinformation or not. Shut up and let the facts come out. You need to allow speech to happen, and if it comes out that it's fake, then it comes out that it's fake. It does not matter. It does not rely on you to suppress information. This just is getting me a lot annoyed. Number 29, a fundamental problem with the tech companies and content moderation. Many people in charge of speech know/care little about speech and have been told the basis of the outsiders, to wit. In one humorous exchange on day one, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna reaches out to Gade to gently suggest she hop on the phone to talk about the backlash of free speech. Carmona was the only Democratic official I could find in the files who expressed concern, generating huge backlash on Hill speech. Happy to chat if you're up to it. Best Row, sent from my iPhone. Gladdy replies quickly, immediately diving into the weeds of Twitter policy, unaware Karma is more worried about the Bill of Rights. Hi, Congressman Karma. Thank you for reaching out, and we appreciate the heads up. We put out clarifying thread of tweets earlier in this evening to explain our policy around the posting of private information and linking directly to hacked materials. The press's secretary account was not permanently suspended. We've requested that she delete the tweet containing material that is in violation of our rules, and her account is restricted until she complies. I'd be happy to jump on the phone if helpful. My team in DC, Jessica and Lauren, are copied here and also available to discuss. Number 32, Karmna tries to reroute the conversation to the First Amendment, mention of which she is genuinely hard to find in the files. Ro, Karna to Gaddy, Ro, Karna, hope you're well. Vijosa, but this seems to be a violation of the First Amendment principles. If there is a hack of classified information or other information that could expose a serious war crime, and the New York Times was to publish it, I think the New York Times should have the right. A journalist should not be held accountable for legal actions of the source unless they actively aid the hack. So to restrict the distribution of the material, especially regarding a presidential candidate, seems not to be keeping on the principles of the NYT v. Civilian. I say that this is a total Biden partisan and convinced he didn't do anything wrong, but the story now has become more of a censorship than relatively nauseous emails, and it's become a bigger deal than it would have been. It also is now leading to serious effects in Core Trail Section 230, May of which would have been a mistake. I believe Twitter itself should not curtail what it recommends or puts on trending news. And your policy against QAnon groups is all good. It's hard to balance. But in the heat of a presidential campaign, restricting dissemination of newspaper articles, even if the New York Post is far right, seems like it will invite more backlash than it will do good. Please keep this communication just between us and Jack, and no need to CC the team or forward it to them. Just want to offer my 2 cents. Number 33, within a day, the head of policy, Lauren Culberstone, receives a ghostly letter report from Carl Sabo of the research firm NetChoice, which has already pulled 12 members of Congress, 9 Republicans and 3 Democrats from the House Judiciary Committee to Rep. Judy Cho's office. Yesterday, NetChoice's Chris Merchandise met informally with 9 Republicans and 3 Democratic House staffers to gather intel about Facebook and Twitter and the New York Post story. The staffers hail from the House Judicial Committee to Rep. Judy Crow's office. This system wasn't balanced, it was balanced on the contracts. Wait, I read that already. Okay. Net Choice lets Twitter know a bloodbath awaits it in upcoming Hill hearings, with members saying that it is a tipping point, complaining tech has grown so big that they can't even regulate themselves. So government needs to intervene. High-level takeaway. Every Republican said that this is a tipping point, it's just too much, and both Democrats and Republicans were angry. Scudno reports to Twitter that some Hill figures are categorizing the laptop story as tech access Hollywood moment. When asked about how bad the situation is, one staffer said it's tech access Hollywood moment and it has no Hillary to hide behind. Others were more blunt. Tech is screwed, and rightfully so. Twitter files continued. The First Amendment isn't absolute. Scudno's letter contains chilling passages relaying Democratic lawmakers' attitudes. They want more moderation, and as for the Bill of Rights, it's not absolute. The Democrats, meanwhile, complained that the companies are incept. They let conservatives muddy in the water and make Biden's laptop look corrupt, even though Biden is innocent. They linked this to the Hillary Clinton's email scandal. She did nothing wrong because the press wouldn't let the story go. It became a scandal far out of proportion. In their minds, social media is doing the right thing. It doesn't moderate enough harmful content, so when it does, like it did yesterday, it becomes a story. If the companies moderated more, conservatives wouldn't even think to use media for disinformation, misinformation, or otherwise. The Democrats were in agreement. Social media needs to moderate more because they're corrupting democracy and making all truth relative. When pushed on how the government might insist on that constant with the First Amendment, they demurred the First Amendment is not absolute, which obviously is a talking point. An amazing subplot of the Twitter/Hunter Biden laptop affair was how much was done without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey and how long it took for the situation to get un-effed, as one of the ex-employees put it, and after Dorsey jumped in. There are multiple instances in the files Dorsey intervening to question suspensions and other moderation access. An amazing subpart of the Twitter/Biden laptop affair was how much would be done without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey and how long it took for the situation to get un-effed. As one ex-employee put it, even after Dorsey jumped in. There are multiple instances in which files of Dorsey intervening to question suspensions and other moderation actions for accounts across the political spectrum. The problem with the hacked materials ruling, several sources said, was that this normally required an official/law enforcement finding of a hack, but such a finding never appears throughout what one executive describes as a whirlwind, 24-hour company-wide mess. Hi, Ols. As you probably were aware, Twitter actioned tweets yesterday relating to two New York Post articles that were tweeted out that allegedly included pictures and screenshots of emails from a laptop that was allegedly belonged to Hunter Biden, political candidate Joe Biden's son. Our teams made this determination that the materials fall under our hacked materials policy, in addition to sharing personal information. So links were actioned. As you may know, this existing policy framework was launched in 2018 to mitigate real-time harm based on hack and leak scenarios coming out of the 2016 election. Several high-profile accounts, including press outlets, were impacted by this decision and were actioned. Unfortunately, the language that was provided in the product would have created confusion, inciting the links were spam or unsafe. Constantly, Twitter safety explained that the reasoning here is a thread. This morning, the New York Post tweeted additional links to the story that contained pictures and screenshots of the emails that were also actioned. The teams determined that a Trump campaign tweet was actioned for containing PPI, would not be reactioned because it was retweeted without the PPI blurred. I know that there are questions that you probably have and are probably going to get a lot incoming stakeholders, government, academics, civil society, etc. The last 24 hours certainly have been a whirlwind with lots of curves and unknowns, and we fully expect the issues surrounding the matter will continue to swirl in the coming days, so thank you for everyone for your patience. It's been a whirlwind 96 hours for me. There's so much more to come, including answers to questions about the issues like shadow banning, boosting follower accounts, and fate of various individual accounts, and more. These issues are not limited to the political right. Good night, everyone. Thanks to everyone who has picked up the phone in the last few days. And with that, this has finished the segment, or we should say saga number 1 of the Twitter expose from Elon Musk and his team. So I'm very, very proud of Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk did a very, very good job in exposing everything that Twitter has to offer in this aspect. I feel like the team over in the investigative journalism should do a lot more. They should do a lot more in exposing exactly what Twitter was doing, not only in the Hunter Biden story, but also in the COVID story and the Wuhan labs theories and all of these other things that they were suppressing for the last coming years. They should also talk about how they interfered in the 2016 election to try to not get Trump elected. And they should also talk about how they interfered in the 2020 election. And yes, they did some right now with the suppression of information, but they should also talk about other things also. There's a lot of things to talk about, and obviously they know about all of these things. But let's see if saga number 2 and saga number 3 comes out with all of this other information. Now, I want to thank Elon Musk for actually doing this. Twitter would have never came out with this information if it was not for Elon Musk. So I do applaud him, and I applaud everybody on the team working to investigate this case. Thank you all. And without further ado, we're going to begin with our next segment, A Dozen Takes.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love.
Okay, so starting off, we have a CNN article. The title is How Teddy Roosevelt Offers an Ominous Lesson for Trump and the GOP in 2024. So, CNN. He was a former Republican president with a mammoth ego, a sense of entitlement, and a seeming resentment. Critics called him mentally unstable and a racist, and some even noted his small hands. Okay, we're talking about, of course, one of the greatest presidents, Theodore Roosevelt. There have been a lot of commentary recently about the legendary Roosevelt, who once, instead of giving a nearly 90-minute speech moments after being shot in the chest by a would-be assassin, after former President Trump recently announced plans to run for the White House in 2024, some pundits said that he could provoke a schism within the GOP that would hand the presidency to the Democrats. That same scenario that Roosevelt triggered in 1912. Roosevelt participated in this GOP doomsday scenario when, almost 4 years after leaving the White House, he challenged this party's potential nominee in 1912, William Harwell Taft. Roosevelt tagged the portly Taft with insulting nicknames such as Fathead and Puzzlewit and Flubdub. See, these are the nicknames that you would get in the 1912. If you say that now, Puzzlewit, nobody cares. And Fathead, okay, and Flubdub, that's actually funny. When he failed to secure the GOP political nomination, he claimed that the party's nominating process was corrupt. He then formed a third party to run in a general election, which split the GOP base, heading the election to the Democratic presidential candidate, Woodrow Wilson. So, I'm going to stop right there, CNN. Trump is not going to do this. I mean, he might, but he won't. Listen, Trump is not that stupid. Trump seems like he doesn't have a plan. He's not that dumb, okay? He's not going to split the party in half. There's a 100% chance of the Republicans not winning. He's not going to take the blame for 100% making the Republicans lose. If he goes and disregards our election process in the primary, if Trump neglects our election process in the primary, and let's just say that the people vote for Ron DeSantis over him in the primary, if Ron DeSantis actually does run, in which we still don't know if he's going to run, if he is or not. If he is, I endorse Ron DeSantis. Anyways, if Ron DeSantis and Trump goes on a primary and Ron DeSantis wins, there's a slim, like really, really paper slim majority chance of Trump actually running as a third political runmate. He's not going to run as an independent. He won't. He knows as an independent you're going to only split the vote. That's why I don't think that independents should even run. Independents usually get 2% of the vote, which that 2% could be used for Republicans to win. It's just that simple. Anyways, continuing with the article, when he failed to secure the GOP presidential nomination, he claimed that the party's nomination process was corrupt. He then formed a third party to run on a general election, which split the GOP base, handing the election to Democratic presidential candidate Woodrow Wilson. The parallels of the 1912 for Republicans are striking and terrifying, says Gerald Podler, a historian at Lawrence University in Wisconsin. There was very little the GOP could do instantaneously in 1912 to prevent this debacle. Roosevelt was determined to become president again, and he held a substantial portion of the party in dull. And there was no compromise possible, no middle ground face-saving to save the day. In 1912, it is not so much of a warning to the Republican Party in 2024 as it is ominous prediction. Okay, it is not an ominous prediction. It's literally not going to happen, and I do not see this happening. But look deeper and you'll find at least 3 other ominous parallels between Roosevelt and Trump. They reveal what the line between a great and a failed president is much thinner than most people realize. Yes, Trump and Roosevelt differ in many ways. Comparing Roosevelt to Trump may seem like at first a historical blasphemy. Sure, there are some superficial similarities. Both were born in Medivh, New York. Families both had wealthy, demanding families who profoundly shaped them, and both took a political establishment of their era. But Roosevelt was a progressive who battled corporate monopolies, disdained the idle rich, and had a genuine compassion for the poor. He campaigned many reforms, a living wage, a social safety net that included workmen's comp pensions for the elderly, adding up to what he called a square deal for the less fortunate. Trump's signature policy victory during his only term in office was the passage of a tax cut, which largely benefited corporations and the wealthy, which it did not. It also affected the mom and pop shops because his tax exemptions, his tax policies actually benefited my family personally. So that is not true from CNN, obviously. Roosevelt's political courage was also unquestioned. But before he became president, he once knocked out a gun-toting drunken cowboy who accused him in a bar. He also led in a regiment of cavalry volunteers known as the Rough Riders on a famous charge during the Spanish-American War in 1898. President Trump has said in his heel spurs earned him a medical deferment which kept him out of the Vietnam War. Roosevelt had a formidable intellect. He spoke both French and German and authored an estimated 35 books, ranging from assorted biographies and tomes on hunting in nature to a well-regarded analysis of naval warfare. Trump mused during a 2020 White House press briefing about whether disinfectants such as bleach could treat the coronavirus in humans, asking if there is a way that we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning. Obviously, if you did see that clip in 2020,
and is whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
Okay, I mean, CNN, you're just stupid. Roosevelt was a rapid reader of books and learner of things, says David Greenser author of Leave It As It Is, A Journey Through Theodore Roosevelt's American Wilderness. Roosevelt had a curiosity and empathy and an interest in the world beyond himself, whether that was other people. He was seemingly great listener or the natural world, research says. But both men were driven by raw egotism. Yep, you're right. Trump is a very big egomaniac. He would see a mirror and he would say, no, I'm better. No, I'm better. And he would just argue with it himself. That would be something that Trump would do. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that Trump is not an egomaniac. He is an egomaniac. Like, I don't know what the point in this is. We all know that Trump has an ego. Like, I just don't know. Trump's need for an instant ego and constant ego stroking is well documented. Despite contrary photographic evidence, he claimed he had attached the largest audience to ever witness inauguration. A bogus 2009 Times Magazine cover with all caps headline, Trump is hitting on all fronts, even TV. Once hung in at least 5 of the country clubs. And during a 2017 NATO gathering, Trump shoved other foreign leaders out of the way so he could be photographed at the head of the group. Well, obviously he's going to do that. He's a world leader. The United States is the best country. The United States president should be first. I'm not going to sit here and say that Trump's pushing as a thing that he should have done. No, he's not going to do that. But he's going to shove people out of the way because he has an ego. He thinks that he should be first. In which, yeah, if you think about it, the United States is the best country. We should be first. I mean, not sitting up for his actions, but it was pretty funny. But Roosevelt's ego was also as big as his caring on Mount Rushmore, schoolers say. The Pulitzer Prize winning historian Doris Kings Goodwin wrote in her book, Leadership in Turbulent Times, that Roosevelt craved the spotlight as a plant craves sunshine. Roosevelt's daughter, Alice, once said of her father, he wanted to be the corpse at every funeral, the bride at every wedding, and a baby at every christening. A wealthy ego is not necessarily bad for a president. It took enormous self-confidence for a relatively inexperienced senator with a funny name to think he can become the world's nation's first black president. Of course, we're going to talk about Obama for no reason. Or consider Abraham Lincoln. Historians love to think about his hilarity, but it took tremendous self-belief to redefine the meaning and purpose of the America in 272 words, something Lincoln did with his messianic Gettysburg Address. But Roosevelt's ego married his political judgment. He despaired Woodrow Wilson and the president who succeeded him, even though Wilson pushed through many of the progressive policies Roosevelt was unable to pass, says Paul Dorr, and the Lawrence University historian. Roosevelt was resentful of anyone who would steal the spotlight from him. Podar says he was openly jealous and resentful of Wilson, though he really didn't disagree with Wilson about very much except whether the United States should enter World War I. He had nothing but disrespect for Wilson, and he wasn't because of anything political about Wilson. It was in fact Wilson was president, and he was not. Both shared a flair for commanding attention. Love or loathe him. There has never been a president like Trump, obviously. No other president was a reality TV star. I don't think that's true. Kennedy was also a reality TV star. He was an actor. So CNN, do you know your history? We're going to sit here and say that Trump is the first actor? No, Kennedy was the first actor. We had other presidents that were CNN, you're just so stupid. No other president was a reality TV show star, according to CNN, but that's not true, obviously. We just talked about that. Once slammed an opponent to the floor at a pro wrestling event, or boasted about the size of his... Okay.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
Or boasted about the size of his male part during a debate. He erased the line between entertainment and presidential politics in a way that had been done before. Okay. With the use of Twitter, Trump also mastered a way to speak directly to his supporters and enemies. and spread disinformation. Of course, CNN's going to talk about that without interference from the media. Trump's ability to command media attention is unparalleled for former presidents. He garnered constant headlines with his seemingly never-ending parade of lies, outrageous statements, and racist tweets. This is according to CNN. Roosevelt also commanded attention in an unprecedented way when he assumed the presidency in 1901 after the assassination of President William McKinley. At 42, he was the youngest American president at the time, bursting into the Oval Office like a human tornado in his paternal grin in a non-stop motor. He was a completely outsized political character, the likes of which had never seen before in American politics, says Podor. He is the Donald Trump of his day. Before Roosevelt, most presidents resembled political fossils, stolid, sober figures stuck in the tar pits of the tradition. Congress largely dominated national politics in the 1800s, and political machines typically decided who was going to occupy the White House. But Roosevelt was credited with making the president the center of the American political life. He is considered the first modern president. How did he do it? Through sheer extravagance, audacity, and a clever sense of public relations. But yeah, obviously, you need to have a good public relation to be the president of the United States. So this Twitter article is going to go on and on and on and on and on and on about how bad Trump is from this point on. So we're going to just skip this entirely because I don't want to hear, frankly, from CNN. We're going to just move on to the next article, which we have also from CNN. Doesn't takes, obviously. Incoming COP Congressman says party won't be held hostage by McCarthy distractors. So, Washington, CNN. Republican Rep-elect Mike Larner of New York on Sunday offered his full support of the House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy in speakership bid, saying the party wouldn't be held hostage by a handful of members seeking to place a different Republican atop the chamber. Now, for me, I think that McCarthy should step back. I think they should let Lee Zeldin in as a primary in the Republican speaker, or the leader in this case. They should have Lee Zeldin because he transformed New York. He actually got us a lot of votes in the House. He got us a lot of votes in Congress in New York, and he actually did a really good job. He's a well-rounded person. McCarthy has been here for years. Just let somebody else step into your place. If Lee Zeldin doesn't do a good job, we'll go back to you. Okay, you're still here. You're not going to pass away. Okay, you're still here. Let Lee Zeldin take your place. I completely agree that Lee Zeldin should be the GOP leader. So, Kevin is the only person that I'll be voting for, says this Mike Larner, for speaker. It's one vote or multiple votes. And I think that there's many of my colleagues who feel the same way. Larner said in the State of the Union in an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper, and frankly, we're not going to be held hostage by a handful of members when the overwhelming majority of the conference is in support of Kevin. Larner, a state assemblyman, made headlines last month after he unseated New York Rep. Sean Patrick Maloney, the chairman of the House Democrats' campaign arm, in a lower Hudson Valley district. McCarthy and his critics are gearing up for the political floor fight over the speakermanship in January, raising the possibility of a messy inter-party showdown that could bring uncertainty and chaos just as Republicans prepare to enter their new majority. While McCarthy insists we will have the 218 votes needed to secure the speaker's gavel, the conservative hardliners seeking to plot the California Republicans' ouster says otherwise. It's still not known that what would happen on January 3 if McCarthy cannot get 218 votes to be elected speaker. Republicans will only have a narrow majority in the new Congress with 222 seats. So McCarthy can only afford to lose a few GOP votes. But there's an expectation that any number of Republicans could throw their hat in the ring if McCarthy stumbles or drops out. I do think cooler heads will prevail. And I do think on January 3, Kevin will have the necessary votes to become speaker, lawyer said Sunday. Noting a month is a long time in politics. In recent weeks, part of McCarthy's pitch to his critics has been that if they don't unify, then Democrats could theoretically band together and then peel off a few Republicans to elect the next speaker on the floor. In an interview with Fox News on Sunday, McCarthy tried his bid for speaker to a number of GOP priorities and warned Republicans against squandering this majority. If people don't come along, there's going to be a delay in our ability to secure the border. That's going to delay our ability to become energy independent, and that's going to delay our ability to repel 87,000 IRS agents. That's going to delay our ability to hold government accountable. But are they? Are they really going to hold government accountable? Kevin McCarthy, you've been Speaker of the House your whole entire career. I mean, honestly, not your whole entire career. For the last couple cycles, you've been White House, you've been the Republican leader, okay? So why didn't you do this before? Yes, we do realize that the 87,000 IRS agents were not hired when you were there, but if you're going to do what you say you're going to do, why didn't you do these before? Why didn't you secure the border before? How about you step aside and let somebody else get into your place? You've been here a long time. Let somebody else get into your space. That's what I agree with. Lee Zeldin is a really, really good candidate for the leadership in the Republican Party. The GOP leader should be Lee Zeldin. It should. I mean, and I'm here to argue with that. Thank you all for watching this episode of the Demetrius Urijo Show. This show is produced by myself. This show is also produced by the Urijo Studios. If you want to check out more from the Urijo Studios, just check out the link down below.
Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're with my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior, inferior. You know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable. Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly